Hey guys, Thomas Sulu Jr. here, aka Mustached Tom, here to finally review the movie Ferdinand. So, I didn't know much about this movie except that it involved the wrestler John Cena. So, that's all I actually kind of knew about it. I didn't see that many trailers for it, and as this review will probably uh, show, is that I didn't know that it came out, and then I had to catch up, so I eventually went to go see the movie. So this is my super late review of this movie, so there's that. Also, this is apparently from the creators of movies like Rio and Ice Age, which does eventually show in the movie, which is a bit unfortunate, but nonetheless. So we see that the movie starts off with some trucks moving in, carrying a young Ferdinand, or just trucks moving in, and then we see a young Ferdinand, and he's trying to help take care of this one plant. We see that there's this main villain or bully character, Volante, who is another young bull. Guapo, and then Bones are the other two. They all want to get picked to challenge this matador who picks who was going to pick one of their fathers to essentially go into fight the matador. So it ends up he ends up coming. He ends up picking Ferdinand's dad, which gets Volante specifically the most upset, but the others are like less so, but still. Um, but Ferdinand talks about how he doesn't want to choose the path of the fighter. And when he returns to his little gate place, his little flower that he was taking care of is smashed by Volante as a final. That's what you get for having your dad be picked. I don't know. Anyway, afterwards he flees. That being Ferdinand, and ends up fleeing from all the humans. He ends up going on a train. Um, he slips off the road, however, and then uh, as he's passing out, he sees this young girl approaching him. As he wakes up, the young girl slowly but surely gains his affection, and then she takes care of him. And she also manages to call him Ferdinand, which I don't know if it's like a thing you would normally call a bull. Like I guess that's just a way to say bull, maybe. I don't know if that's the case, and she just called him that because that's the case, or what. But anyway, she shows him how to dance, and he grows bigger and bigger over time. He welcomes the new animals along. He has this little dog bro who's always like, "Oh, you're a bull. You don't belong. Whatever." The girl is Nina, and we don't get much of her in the movie. She sort of leaves after quite a bit, soon after. So, anyways, he gets left behind as they go to this flower festival. But he eventually chooses that he wants to go, and he starts knocking over stuff by accident, and then he starts to freak out. He tries to save a baby, a bunch of bad stuff happens. Um, and he's like trying to get to Nina this whole time. However, he gets brought back to the place where he initially started the movie, uh, and they shove in this common goat who eventually quickly lets out that she wants to help him become a fighter at that point in time. And after all this time, we see that Volante still holds the grudge, while also introducing two new bulls and also the others along with them. So we have these three hedgehogs in the movie. Their names are, I believe, I don't know if it's either Spanish. I think it was Spanish, if I'm not mistaken. Um, their names are 1, 2, and 4 in Spanish. I think that's the case. I wrote that as the notes, but Apparently there was a third one, and then that one's never in the movie because it passed away or whatever, and that's the joke? Question mark? I don't know. Anyway, uh, so he tries to sneak out again, only to discover that the fences are now shocked. Um, and afterwards, these horses start to mock him, and then they try to show off how beautiful they are. And he sees that the hedgehogs are able to pass through no problem. Um, but we also see that the other bulls are doing their own thing. Like Volante, for example, is freaking out Guapo as one of the humans, like the matador that's coming to see them, is like this fancy guy, and he has a fancy car, and he wants to fight the best bull. He does this like JoJo like pose as he moves about. The goat is assured to think that Ferdinand will be picked. So the bulls are then released, and then Ferdinand eventually gets pushed into the little gate area. So you're moving out and about. Some of the bulls are pushed aside, so on and so forth. Oh, I wrote a note later on that says the goat's name is Lupe, which I kind of forgot also. Anyway, we see the results of the fight since Guapo bailed out of the fight. Essentially, he gets picked to go to this chop zone, which I just called the chop zone. I don't know. I think that's what they called it. They called it a chop something. I just placed it on there. Anyway, and it's interesting because they actually have Bones, the smaller character, blame Volante, and I like that actually caught me off guard because I thought they were gonna do the whole cliche of like, oh, it's all Ferdinand's fault, and oh, we gotta pick on him even more. But no, he actually stands up to Volante in that moment, so that was actually a pretty good part right there. Um, we then cut back to Nina very briefly, and then it cuts immediately back, so that was kind of unnecessary. We see that Ferdinand sees that Bones is crying because Guapo was taken away, and then they talk about it for a bit. Uh, and then he like tries to help him out back by saying he has to step out, or else that will be his fate as well. So they go into this little training area, and Lupe has like these 24 hours, but Ferdinand's not having any of it. He's like trying to save this bunny. He's like flying over it, and he goes back to like save it. Um, and then he like talks to one of the newer bulls, which his name is Angus. He couldn't see, so Ferdinand like licks up his hair so he's able to see. And then they have a moment afterwards. Again, pretty okay moment. Um, and then he talks with Lupe some more about what he's supposed to do. And then after that, we enter probably the most bizarre scene in this entire movie, where the horses go back to mocking Ferdinand some more about dancing for some reason, and then Ferdinand starts showing off his dance moves, and then it goes back to the horses, and then Angus joins the dance battle, and it goes into a round 3, and then Bones joins into the dance battle, and then it's like 3-on-3, and then it's 4-on-3. And this sequence goes on for like, I don't know, like a good 10 to 20 minutes maybe? Like, it was a long sequence of just them dancing back and forth. But one of the horses starts like to flip flop and then get all the other horses mixed up, and then the bulls end up winning because the quiet bull was like happy, and then they were victorious. Volante, and it's odd that Volante of all the characters gets the plot back on track finally after all that nonsense. But Ferdinand still wants to escape. So he tells that to Nina, and then he goes to the hedgehogs for help, and then they sneak about. he like tries to squeeze into a window and then ends up inside a house. But he sees once he is inside that well the hedgehogs have to do their little distraction thing as he's in the house. But he's like sneaking about, and then he sees his dad's horns, or his dad, whatever. Anyway, plurals. Anyway, he sees that all the bulls in the past have never won. They have always lost. So he freaks out even more. He wants to help all the other bulls escape as well. So he goes back to get all of the bulls. Instead of escaping fully. So he's like, all of the bulls. And then, Volante still wants to fight. So they fight each other. And then Ferdinand breaks off one of his horns. So he gets placed in the chop house as well. And then that's when the Matador picks Ferdinand finally. And then we see a quick glimpse of the horses apologizing to each other. But then they get distracted by the hedgehogs pretending to be a cow. Then the silent bull takes the shock of the fence to allow all the other bulls to get access to the horse area. So Ferdinand goes to the chop block area to save both Volante, and then end up finding out that Guapo is somehow still alive, because no one was in that building for whatever reason. It was just them. And then we have a moment where it's kind of like pretending to be Ice Age. I kind of say that like when that area when they go into the ice, the three ice things, and it's them trying to escape the little machines there. Kind of like the same sequence of events, only with a different environment, really. They end up like getting frozen, but then they end up like crashing out. So the animals go into a car, and then they get help from all the other animals to drive the car. They save the bunny again, and then the humans start chasing them. So the chase is on, and they end up in a bus. They move along, blah blah blah. And then Ferdinand sees that they end up like in this like tractor area where they're like little train station moving things. So he sees that the humans are catching up, so he sacrifices himself to get caught to help all the others. So he's moved back into the Matador's space, and then that is when Nina comes back into the picture to start moving after she discovers all the stuff that's going on. So he's pressed out to the arena. He gets attacked, which causes him to freak out, so none of the fighting is on him. But he does manage to get the red. I don't know what it's like. I know it's not called. I'm not even sure if it's called a carpet, like the red thing they use to olay the bulls. I'm not sure if that thing has a specific name, so I just called it a red carpet for now in my notes anyway. But Ferdinand manages to pin it and get it. So the human pretends to be the bull, trying to get the carpet, and Ferdinand keeps moving about. So it's like reversed. So the human's the one getting olayed. But eventually, the Matador does get a hit on him, and that is when Ferdinand pins him upward with his horns and could have finished off the job. But then he stops to see that he stepped on a flower, so he stops and he sits down and he just sits there. So the human comes back out with a fencing sword and just holds it there for a moment. And the fans respond in kind, saying that they want the bull to live because he put on that whole show. So he manages to get to win the Matador over, who just goes off and leaves. And that allows the girl to get up to Ferdinand, and she also takes in all the other bulls and all the other animals as well. And they enjoy a nice little sit down, and that was Ferdinand. It's an okay movie. It does have that distracting dancing sequence to like distract from the plot of the movie, which is like, it's the whole thing of like, oh, do you fight or do you not fight, and it's all the whole thing of like, oh, this is what you have to be versus what you want to be, and all that good stuff. But the movie definitely has some distractions in it. I thought John Cena's performance was okay. It was a little off at first, and then as the movie goes on, you kind of get used to it a little bit, so there's that. But still, I think there was too much distraction. There were definitely too many characters. I think the horses could have been taken out of the movie completely, and then just have it so that there's a way for them, another way for the bulls to get to the chopping zone without the horses being necessary. The goat was also kind of unnecessary, to be honest. But cute animal critters for the kids and stuff, I guess. So there's that. So yeah, I think it's an okay movie. And hopefully this does not take the route of Ice Age, where it's, if they see that this is a success, they just decide to milk it further and further and further. Hopefully they see that route in the past has not worked for them via animating the sequels after sequels after sequels, like the Ice Age has gone on for far too long. So hopefully they know that this will be probably where it would probably likely to stop Ferdinand and not have a Ferdinand 2. That would be kind of unnecessary, I think. For where the movie ends, I think that would be very unnecessary. Anyways, that is my review. I would give it a 5 out of 10. I think it's a halfway decent movie. It's animated well enough, but there's like all those distractions that keep it from it's just a big distraction in the middle there, and the beginning and the end are okay enough to hold it up to that 5, I feel. So that's my review of Ferdinand, and if you did enjoy this review, then please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also make sure to check out that link in the description. I will head you over to my Patreon page, and any donations are greatly appreciated. And until next time, everyone, bye-bye!